Okay, so what really happens when people can no longer afford homes? You're seeing it already in the United States. Incomes just do not keep pace with the cost of housing, with the appreciation in home prices and insurance rates. People are being priced out of homes. So you have a divide. There's a lot of wealth in countries like the United States and in other countries, but you have a divide between, the haves and the have-nots, right? There's people that are doing exceedingly well. Maybe it's 10% of people, maybe it's 20% of people are doing pretty good. But the top, like 1% of people control such a large percentage of the wealth. I think it's over 30% of the total wealth is just controlled by 1% of people. And, capitalism is going to be, it's not communism, it's not socialism, it's not a system where everyone just gets the same thing. You obviously don't really want a system like that because it discourages people to work hard and to, be innovative. But under our system, right, there sure is a lot of corruption. There's a lot of people in power that want to keep it that way. And you have, probably over 50% of people in the United States living not necessarily in poverty, but pretty close to that line. The stat I said yesterday was about 80% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. So, like I said, there's a lot of wealth in this country. But when you have so much of it controlled by so few people, then you have a lot of people that just could not participate in the traditional way, right? And what's the traditional way? Well, you look back a couple generations ago, it was home affordability, vehicles, having a spouse, potentially having kids. Most people did have kids, right? You really weren't seen as being a member of society back then if you didn't have a family. You were kind of seen as being not normal. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I wasn't around in the 1950s or 60s, but now it's somewhat normalized to just not have a family, not have kids, live in an apartment, and that's it. And I think people do want to have families. They do want to have a significant other. That desire is still there. But if the financial reality of doing that is not really feasible, then you have a situation like we have now, where, again, I've said it multiple times in other videos. If you don't have a lot of financial security, you cannot afford a home. If you cannot afford a home, you're likely not going to be attracting a partner. Okay, and if you don't have a partner and you don't have a home, then you're obviously not going to be having kids. Okay, so those things kind of snowball on top of each other. If you did have a good job and you had financial security and you were making a good income and you could afford not just a place to live, but feel comfortable with affording all the other things associated with living, then you would, a lot of people would go down the path of looking for a partner, partnering up, and starting a family. And that's, all across the world, you're seeing the replacement rate go down. Again, I'm just gonna echo what I said in other videos, but we are sustaining our population through immigration, right? If we didn't have millions of people coming into our country, our population would be declining pretty quickly, because there's more people that are dying than people that are being born. And again, you look a couple generations ago, it was pretty common for people to be married and have kids in their mid-20s, early to mid-20s. Now it's, maybe 30 is when people are getting married, and then maybe they're having kids in their mid-30s or early 30s, or maybe they're just not even having kids, right? And a lot of people are just not getting married at all, right? So what's the solution to that? I mean, you guys let me know what you think. Is the traditional model dead? Is that a system that we need to go back to? You know, are we okay with relying on immigration moving forward? Is there a way in which home prices are going to become affordable again? I don't know, because if you lower interest rates, buyers are going to flood in. But then the price of the real estate's going to go up, right? And right now, with high interest rates, historically high interest rates, at least over the past 10 years. I know back in 1980 or 1970, the interest rates were way higher, but I'm just looking at the monthly mortgage payment, right? If people cannot realistically afford a monthly mortgage payment on an average house, they're not going to start families. Some people might, again, but it goes back to my apartment analogy. Most people are just not really going to want to start a family if they don't have, a decent income with a single family home. Yes, you're going to have people that start a family with no money and that live in an apartment with a roommate, but that's not normal, right? Majority of people are not going to do that. They're going to wait until they have some financial stability, until they can attract a good partner, and the problem is that just is not coming, right? Because they can't afford a home until they're almost 40 years old. I think the average first-time home buyer is 36 years old, right? It used to be, I think, closer to 30 or even younger, but it's moving up to closer to 40 years old now. And if you're 40, you're already kind of late in terms of starting a family. And so if you've lived basically 20 years of your life, or 15 years after you've gone out of college and everything, and say you're 35, 36 years old, you might just not want a family at all because you're used to living without kids, and that's the type of lifestyle you want. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, you guys let me know if there's a solution to that. I think as long as homes are unaffordable for most people, then families are going to be not forming as much. And hard to see that changing. But you guys let me know what you think. Subscribe for more. We'll see you on the next one.